You're listening to RANE's Essential Geopolitics podcast, powered by Stratfor. I'm Emily Donahue. His name has become almost synonymous with his country. And now, after 12 years, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is out of power, and a new government is already making its presence felt. Here with guidance on what we can expect is Ryan Bohl, Stratfor Middle East and North Africa analyst at RANE. Hello, Ryan.
Hi, Emily. Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure to speak with you. So what can we expect from the new government?
Well, we are seeing the end of the Netanyahu era, so we're already seeing the swap out of personalities. So there's a lot of new faces, a lot of new names, and chief amongst them is the Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. He's a man who came from a technology background. He came from more of an entrepreneurial background. He's also a leader of one of the smaller parties in the ruling coalition. And his beliefs and his political career are really symbolic of the way that Israel's political system has sort of fractured over the years of the Netanyahu rule since 2009. And he managed to get himself into power by leveraging his minority status as a party and his kingmaker status because of the narrow margins that these elections kept resulting in, to turn himself into prime minister in spite of the fact that he hadn't won even a plurality of the votes. And now he's a man who's going to steer Israel into a new direction, but that direction is uncertain because many of his allies don't believe the same things as he does, and what they agree on the most is that they didn't like Netanyahu, they don't want him to return to power, they didn't like the political paralysis of the past 2 years, and after that is where they start to kind of fall apart.
Well, of course, this government is going to be different, but what will be different about it? What will change and what won't?
Well, to begin with, we'll start with some of the budget that has been delayed for the past couple of years. That's pretty likely to pass. We also now see, most notably, the emergence of an Islamist party, an Israeli Islamist party called RANE, and they are part of this coalition government for the first time in Israel's history. And they will be using their position within the government to try to carve out special concessions and new policies for Israeli Arabs that the Israeli Arab community hasn't seen in many, many years. And it could go in some direction towards alleviating some of these intercommunal tensions that we saw spill over into riots during the May Gaza war that we just got past. So those are some pretty new and different things for Israel's government, especially considering that the Netanyahu government was a right-winger government composed of secularists and nationalists and religious folks who all sort of believe broadly the same ideological ideas. This government is one of a great deal of ideological diversity.
Well, with such an array of different parties, Ryan, how long can this government hold it together, for want of a better phrase?
Well, it's going to remain to be seen how long they can manage to get things done once they get some of the low-hanging fruit of policy passed. Things like the budget, things like that are relatively simple to do. But once that happens, then it's a real question of, okay, how long until the internal ambitions of some of these politicians rear their ugly heads? How long until some of these left-wing or Islamist parties start to disagree with their right-wing coalition partners? How long until an external crisis like another Gaza war or a military crisis with Iran erupts that causes this government to argue against itself and potentially collapse? Israeli governments in general don't last very long. Its political system allows governments to come and go pretty quickly, so it wouldn't be out of the norm that this wouldn't last very long. But Israelis are exhausted with elections, and more importantly, many Israelis are exhausted with Netanyahu, and if they do go back into another election scenario, Netanyahu might have a chance to win a very close to a plurality of the vote and return to power. So it's an open question for how long this government will last before their own internal contradictions bring it down, or whether or not that fear of the return of Netanyahu is enough to unite them long enough for them to get some bigger things done.
Thanks for that catch-up, Ryan.
Yeah, of course.
Ryan Bohl is Stratfor Middle East and North Africa analyst at RANE. You can stay up to date with the latest geopolitical intelligence delivered to your inbox. Sign up today for RANE's Worldview newsletter powered by Stratfor. Sign up at worldview.stratfor.com. That's worldview.stratfor.com. I'm Emily Donahue. Thanks for listening.